Say gone. Big House here. Sorry for leaving you in the lurch on that last chapter, Lucky Stones. My battery died on my camera. So, here we are again for the conclusion of Lucky Stones. You understand that the young boy who committed the crime of killing and cutting up the chief's daughter has been hogtied and brought to a cove in the St. Lawrence River. He's been kept for a week to sober up, so he's totally sober, brought in a wagon, hogtied and gagged, with the tribal healer. The healer is talking to him very calmly and singing Indian chant songs and telling him to be calm and really believe that he is innocent, as these lucky stones that he is going to be going in the water with will save his life if he's innocent and protect him. If not, they'll make him sink like a stone. So, with squirming and swearing and cussing, this man has lucky stones tied to him, probably up to 100. And they tie him to his fingers, his nose, his ears, his neck, around his head, around his feet, his legs, his waist, and with him screaming and complaining and whatever, and the healer telling him to be very calm, they lower him from the flat-bottom boat into the water. And as they lower him into the water, he confesses to the crime and begs for forgiveness, and the healer tells him, no, this is the ancient Indian trial. Believe that you're innocent, because these lucky stones will help you walk right out of this cove safely. Well, they lower the man into the water, and everyone waits there for about 10 minutes after the bubbles stop coming up, singing Indian songs, and the bubbles just stop coming up. Nobody walks out of the water, and they all go home. Well, forever I thought this story was so full of beans and impossible. But I returned to the teller of the legend, and I was just a young boy at the time, hearing this story over and over and over again until I was tired of it, and finally went to my mentor and said, son of Guade, this is not possible. He said, oh, Guggy, it is possible. It's happened many times through the thousands of years of this trial being in existence. He said, you understand that they're tying these lucky stones to him? And I said, yes, and he would sink like a rock. He said, if you are guilty. Now, if you are innocent and you remain very calm, these lucky stones are the best friend you have, because understand, this lucky stone out of the water weighs a lot, but under the water it only weighs a quarter of what it does out of the water. And if you are lowered into the cove with just a rock tied around your neck, you're going to sink like a stone. But with these lucky stones tied around you, they will help hold you to the bottom of the creek, and the water only being 10 foot deep, just over your head, it will allow you to stick to the bottom and walk out of the cove safely. But if you're nervous and you don't take a deep breath, you're never going to make it. So, sure enough, this man, even though he admitted to it, was guilty, and he did not make it out of the cove. But, as the story goes, there have been many who have made it out of the cove, and, according to the Indians, were innocent forever. Now, understand I showed you this crazy picture. This is on a trip to the above the Arctic Circle. We went up there to entertain by doing stand-up comedy and Native American storytelling of the Iroquois Mohawk legends 1,000 years old. But on the way up north, we got above the Arctic Circle, and as we passed by Yellowknife, the chief of fire department invites us out to his hunting cabin to see the hunting cabin and have lunch. Well, we traveled 4.5 hours over this snow. Now, this is about 23.5 foot of snow. But we traveled over the snow for about 4.5 rough hours of snowmobiling to his hunting lodge and had 2-inch thick caribou steaks over the barbie. Unbelievable. They were nothing but delicious. Anyway, on the way back, we passed by a Highline tower for electricity, and the fence for the Highline tower, it was like a school fence with barbed wire on the top, was about 50 foot tall. And I looked up and it was amazing. And he said, well, understand that the snow gets 50 foot here in the winter at times, so the fence has to be that tall. And as I look up on the fence, there is a pair of hands and a pair of feet, that's all, wired to the fence. And I said, oh my goodness, did somebody get trapped up there or something, or stuck in the barbed wire? And he said, no, that was an Indian ceremony that they had. And I said, they look like human hands and feet. And he said, they are. Understand that a man from Toronto, very young man, brought heroin to the Arctic Circle for the first time. And he was dating one of the Inuit girls that was 14, and he addicted her to heroin. And when this went on for a couple of years, her addiction, and she had left the tribe and went to living with him, but after addicting her to heroin, he tried to pimp her out to his friends, and when she refused to be prostituted, she disappeared. Well, a few months later, in a drunken stupor, they overheard him talking about how innocent and sweet she was and how she begged for her life and how she wouldn't cooperate, so he just was forced to cut her up and scatter her around the tundra. And within a day or two, she would vanish from the bears and the wolves and the polar bears and all that. They would make her disappear. Well, the RCMP investigated, him being the last one, of course, to see her alive. They interviewed him, and with the lack of evidence, had to release him. Well, when he shot his mouth off from being stoned and drunk, and some relatives caught wind of this, they captured him, sobered him up, carried him out into the tundra, and wired him to this fence. Now, at the time, the snow was over 40 foot deep. So they wired him to the fence and then had a family reunion. And they invited family and friends out, and they cooked and danced and sang and had bonfires. And the family got to talk to him face to face. And in the interim, to get released, he admitted to the crime. Well, the family was allowed to do anything they wanted to him, so they took and one at a time cut his ears off, cut his eyelids off, his lips off, his nose off, fingers one at a time, and kept him alive for almost a week out there. And when he finally died, they had a bonfire underneath him, and everything burnt except for his hands and feet. And this was retribution to the family for losing their precious 14-year-old daughter. Now, I apologize that this is not a pretty story, but I started this documentary to show you the truth, and this is what happened to people who don't follow the great Creator's rules. Oh, and this is a picture I took on the way back. This was a freak storm, and it snowed for 5 days straight up there. And this is about 100 miles above where I just told the story from. But another 20 miles above that, it was almost bare. It was right down to 10 foot of snow. But anyway, that's my story. I'm sorry for continuing one episode to another, but it's modern technology. I ran out of battery. This is Big House saying, I hope you enjoy the documentary. I'm going to try for 1,000 chapters. Wish me luck. Oh no.